He had reached the highest office in the world. A powerful president, fresh from a massive electoral victory. But behind the speeches, behind the cameras, a secret operation was unfolding. An operation that would trigger one of the greatest political scandals in modern history. And in the end, it would bring down a president. This is the story of Richard Nixon and the Watergate scandal. The scandal that changed politics forever. Richard Nixon was no ordinary politician. Ambitious, intelligent, determined. He spent years climbing the political ladder in the United States. And after difficult political battles, he finally became president. To supporters, Nixon represented strength and experience. To critics, he appeared secretive and deeply suspicious of opponents. But by the early 1970s, Nixon stood at the height of his power. His administration had major influence, and after winning re-election in a landslide, it seemed almost impossible that anything could threaten him. But while America celebrated, a break-in in an office building in Washington, D.C. was about to trigger chaos. In June 1972, several men were caught inside the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee. The location? The Watergate complex. At first, the incident seemed small, almost forgettable. But investigators soon uncovered something disturbing. The burglars carried surveillance equipment, cash, and suspicious connections to people linked to Nixon's campaign organization. Suddenly, questions began spreading. Was this political espionage? Who ordered it? And how far did the operation go? Instead of allowing the investigation to proceed normally, members of Nixon's administration attempted to contain the scandal. Money was reportedly used to encourage silence. Pressure mounted behind closed doors. Conversations became increasingly secretive, and journalists started digging deeper. Among them were reporters from the Washington Post. Piece by piece, the story expanded. What initially looked like a simple burglary began revealing a much larger network of political abuse and secrecy. But the most dangerous evidence was hidden inside the White House itself. Investigators discovered something shocking. President Nixon had recorded conversations inside the Oval Office. Secret tapes. Thousands of hours of recordings. Suddenly, the entire scandal changed. Because if those tapes contained evidence, they could reveal the truth directly from the president himself. The battle over the tapes became explosive. Nixon resisted handing them over. Political pressure intensified. America watched as trust in the presidency began collapsing. Eventually, a crucial tape became public. It suggested Nixon had participated in efforts to obstruct the investigation shortly after the break-in. The damage was devastating. Supporters began turning away. Political allies lost confidence. Calls for impeachment grew louder. The most powerful office in America was now surrounded by crisis. And for the first time, Richard Nixon realized his presidency might not survive. Then came the decision no American president had ever made before. On August 8, 1974, Richard Nixon addressed the nation. His voice was controlled, but the weight of the moment was unmistakable. He announced his resignation. The next day, he left the White House. A president brought down not from foreign enemies, but from secrecy, abuse of power, and loss of public trust. The Watergate scandal permanently changed American politics. Journalism changed. Public skepticism grew stronger. And the presidency itself would never be viewed the same way again. The man who once seemed untouchable became the first U.S. president to resign from office. Today, the word Watergate has become synonymous with political scandal. It remains a warning about the dangers of unchecked power, about secrecy, about corruption, and about how even the most powerful leaders can fall when trust disappears. For some, Nixon remains a complex figure with significant achievements. For others, Watergate overshadowed everything else. But regardless of perspective, his downfall became one of the defining political stories of the 20th century. And perhaps the greatest lesson from Watergate is that power without accountability can destroy even the strongest leaders. Leadership depends on trust. No amount of power, influence, or success can survive when honesty and accountability disappear. History remembers not only victories, but also the consequences of abusing power.